Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. This is an episode with Chris Sewall, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, in that order. We talked about that, and we actually had several rounds of dueling questions, which I've broken up into bite-sized chunks. This is one of them, and I hope you enjoy them. I hope my sponsors enjoy them. Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, ComC.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins Scott Auctions, Topps, Upper Deck, and Panini. So thanks, Chris, and thanks, listeners, and here it is. Okay.
You like to just rummage through dollar boxes, sit in a dollar box for hours on end, pull out cards, send them to ComC and stuff like that. I absolutely love that you do this. This is super cool to me. But talk me through why that's what you really enjoy about card shows, or what's the value you get out of that as opposed to experiencing card shows in other ways.
If I'm looking at the cards, sometimes I can do two things at once. A lot of times I'm sitting with people that I enjoy or a dealer that I enjoy. I can be silent or I can be vocal. It depends. I'm sitting down. I'm not walking around looking at tables that I have no interest in. Once I figure out some tables that I'd like to camp out at, and it keeps me sharp. It's like doing the New York Times crossword puzzle.
Yeah.
You're challenged to go quickly through a box and notice things that have a little bit extra value or something that'd be of interest. Then I get to take them home and see if I did. And it's not all ComC. I sell a bunch of them on eBay. The local interest guys I keep for my wall or for my local visitors. But it's just been fun. Like I said, I'd be sitting next to Rich and we'd be talking or we could be strolling. And here's another thing. I haven't thought about it this way, but when I'm strolling, then people are bumping into me and asking me questions because I'm moving around. If I stay stable, then the people that want to talk to me know how to find me and they just come and talk to me. So I'm not bumping into people as much as they're finding me. And Rich has radar and some of the other guys know some of the tables I'm going to frequent at the National or at the Dallas shows. So it just gives me a base. And I've always had a long attention span. It's just a challenge to look at a whole bunch of cards. And like you, I'm seeing cards. I'm just going through them real quick. And as soon as I see something, hey, that's different. And I've done it enough now that it keeps me sharp. I've had a lot of cards, and these are mostly long tail things. They're enough low supply and low demand that they're not worth pulling out.
Yeah.
But they're worth pulling out by me, and I'll make a mistake every once in a while. But if I'm making a dollar mistake, I'm more than making up for it with all the ones that I picked that are better. And I do have a guy that sells me a monster box of cards every show. He gives me a price, and all of them are inserts, parallels, or SPs or something.
25 cents a card or whatever.
Or less. It depends what it is. But he gives me a price. I don't really haggle, and I'll take them home. The other thing where I get a benefit is I'm willing to take all sports. Any sport, I don't care. Then I have a learning experience, and it takes me not much time to sort it out and bulk it out. And I'm sure I make money on it. I don't need to get rich. I need to have fun, and I'm having fun, and I'm not losing money. So I'm definitely not losing money. In fact, I'm making good money, but it doesn't affect my lifestyle, I don't think. But sitting down in a comfortable chair, visiting with friends and looking at cards, and people come up and sit next to me or do stuff. People are awkward about doing it the first time, but after that, they think, hey, not only does not mind, that's fun. So they'll sit down, but most people aren't going to sit there for a couple hours.
Yeah. At the National, I saw you at a table and I went up and said hi real quick. Yeah. And I think I walked around for a couple hours and I came back and you were still there. Yeah. And I just thought that was so cool.
But you could have been still there. Saying, I don't want somebody sitting there just looking over my shoulder and trying to distract me. But if they're looking for something, I've had that happen all the time. Somebody will sit next to me and they'll pull some stuff for me. I'll pull some stuff for them, and we'll be talking along the way. That's been a lot of fun for me because it's the opposite of what I could do when I was running the company. I would never take the time to do that. I was always talking about the cards instead of touching and feeling and sorting. I love sorting cards.
Sorting is my favorite.
Sorting is one of my favorites. Actually, buying is my favorite.
Sorting is one for me. Buying's two.
Okay, 1, 2, 2, 1.
Right.
Because if you don't buy, you don't have anything to sort. Eventually, you're going to have a big boxes of cards in the back room that you didn't sort. Okay, you wholesale out some of the stuff? Like retailing is usually the best way, but when you're buying bulk collections, surely there's a wholesale option.
Not much. The local card store here, actually the House of Cards, which houses Huggins and Scott, which I know you use. So I will take stuff to them and sell it at a dealer price, but it's not much. I don't wholesale much. No, I have some dealers that I'll sell. If I have just too much, I'll do it. But for the most part, no. I'd be more likely to make a lot for Huggins and Scott, for example, and put it in an auction than an auction it out. Yeah. How about you? Do you wholesale stuff?
My wholesale is Rich Klein,
Okay.
which is at a zero price. The stuff that can't go to eBay, can't go to Costco, that I don't want, I donate to him, and he transacts it either through his synagogue or through other things he does. He's just a good buddy, and it's a way for me to keep things in the ecosystem. Every card needs a home. Do you ever pay referral fees?
I don't think I've ever received a finder's fee. I pay very strong finder's fees. Actually, it's part of my model. If a viewer of the channel reaches out and says, hey, I got a buddy, I say, send him over. I'll pay you a finder's fee if I end up buying the collection. And I have people who specifically look for collections to forward to me because they know I'll pay a strong finder's fee for it. Actually, I think that's an important piece because for me, for a long time as a dealer, it was very hard finding collections. When you're starting off as a dealer, it's a big hustle. It's tough to find inventory at a price you can buy it, that you can resell it for more. That's the hardest part. So I very much understand the value of somebody who brings that in, and I'm willing to pay for that. And I think more people should be willing to pay for that because that's a very valuable aspect of the whole process. Even if it's just somebody who stumbles upon a deal, if they bring it to me, that's a big piece of the puzzle.
Do you think you're making the money on the buying right or the parsing of the cards that you buy? Because I'm making it on both. Of the cards I buy, I'm buying them right, and I'm parsing it. I'm putting it in position to optimize or maximize the profit with efficient labor of sorting. You have the same philosophy?
Yes, I think both are important. I think the money is made on both. I think I'm particularly good at parsing. As a dealer, selling cards for money, one of my strengths, figuring out, okay, how can I take these 10,000 cards, break it up into lots that will maximize the sale when a lot of these cards are worth 10 cents and 25 cents and 50 cents and $1, and there's no efficient way to sell it. How do you parse it out into ways where it is efficient to sell for top dollar, given how much time you have? I think that's one of my particular strengths.
But wholesaling is the most efficient, but it's the least profitable.
I tend to pay wholesale. There wouldn't be much margin if I sold a lot of wholesale. Mainly, I sell wholesale when there's just a chunk of it that I don't have a good outlet to sell. And like wax, I don't deal much with sealed sets or sealed wax. So if I happen to buy a collection, there's a lot of that. That's the kind of thing I might wholesale. It's also very bulky. So yeah, I don't mind moving that sort of stuff. One reason I pay strong is I think repeat business is massively important. I'd much rather overpay and have a repeat customer than underpay and lose them.
Okay. I have a friend that's a dealer. He's done really well over the last 10 years, younger than me. My point is his retirement plan is he's put away some good vintage cards along the way. I think he has 0 stock investments, maybe a little bit of real estate. He has these cards that are like in a safe deposit box. What would you say? Because he's still making a good living, but does that sound like he's not diversified enough?
I'm similar, but I'm definitely more diversified than that. Yeah, I would say key vintage cards, they just have never really gone down in the long term. They've always held their value. They've generally crept up over the long term, probably good long-term investments. But yeah, if you're talking about your retirement, I would diversify a little more than that. But a large chunk of my retirement plan is that as well. Yeah, I would tell them to diversify, get some stocks, something more safe. But having a large chunk of it in that, I think is okay.
If you're making your current money in the hobby, then your job and your current income is related to the health of this industry. And if something happened that jeopardized that, it would also jeopardize the liquidity or value of some of these things you'd put back. So I've encouraged him to diversify in the stock market or bonds or something like that. When I look up and I think, gosh, I've got cards that I had 20 years ago that I paid $100 for, and they're now worth $200 now. That sounds great, but that's not as good as the stock market. So it's not about whether cards have doubled or even gone up by a factor of 10 if it's been a couple decades. I don't think people understand always the power of compounding. Right now, cards are pretty liquid, and to take a portion of them and to sell a few cards to have a more diversified retirement portfolio.
To be clear, I echo exactly what you said. I think having a chunk of it in cards is okay, but yes, I certainly wouldn't have 80% of it in cards, especially if you're getting anywhere close to retirement. That's getting way too risky.
So basically, for him, I am an unpaid advisor.
Well, you should be a paid advisor.
I'm unpaid by him, and he's also not taking my advice.
Great.
And that's fine, because I've said I'm a pro bono consultant. I try to help my friends. It's their life. It's their decision. I'm just saying, I don't want to be in an I told you so situation. He's got a lot of eggs in that one basket.
If you had a 52 Mantle or the S&P 500, probably the S&P is the better long-term bet, but I don't know that the Mantle is a bad bet either.
Past tense. you would have rather had the mantle. That's the dilemma we have in our culture right now.
Is that true? So over the course of 30 years, you would have rather had the mantle? Probably, yeah.
Yeah. But,
Like,
but the question now is the next 30 years. The past tense, that's the problem in our industry. Just like the arrows in the magazine, what went up is not necessarily what's going up.
It took me a few years to learn that. I thought the arrow meant it's going up. When I turned 13, I figured it out.
It's what's going to happen next. The future is uncertain. You don't know. So I've said baseball cards were a fabulous investment.
Mhm.
Whether they are or not remains to be seen. But when I look at the cards that have already gone up 1,000%, I'm not thinking, hey, it's got a lot more room to go up. I'm not sure it does. I want something that hasn't gone up yet that might go up a lot in the future.
But how long does the trend have to continue until you believe in it? Because if it's 30 years is actually not right. It's forever, right? The 52 mantle would have been a good investment in 1952 to today. It's just been a steady, that's 70 years of upwards growth. At what point do you say that's what it's going to do?
Let me answer it a different way.
Yeah.
There's two schools of thought. And one is that the highest and best go up the most. That's the conventional wisdom right now.
Yeah.
Get the best card or the best grade, and that's going to be your best investment. It's going to be the highest value investment, but the best performing investment might be something that's not fully priced at this point. Let's have more room to go up because
people haven't discovered it as
exactly. How high can it go? It just a little bit.
It never seems.
At some point, it's like Brady. Brady got so hot.
Yeah.
Jordan got so hot that it couldn't sustain it. So just because these guys are iconic and GOATs doesn't mean their cards are going to increase forever, especially if they go up dramatically. Mm-hmm. If things went up 10% a year, which is what it was back in the old days, then you could say, yeah, that's sustainable for my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
When it goes up 100% one year and 100% the next year, then you think
it drops. Yeah.
It can't. Right. And so then it's got to find a level. So I want to avoid the cards that have gone up. But at least I can't explain what the future scenario is that makes this a good investment. And I don't think people are talking about that.
Interesting.
Everybody's going to want a Michael Jordan rookie. Now they say everybody's going to want the Star Company, XRC, whatever, a rookie card. Enough to go around. There are enough to go around if they're $1 million.
True.
Because there's not going to be enough people that want to pay $1 million for it in 2024 anyway. In 2044, who knows?
But 2024, $1 million is like $100 today.
Exactly.
The